we're gonna let it be, because I also don't have my microphone, so this is like the most like homemade ass podcast I've done in a minute, but I usually kind of put a little bit more, I mean, they're not usually that much ever, but I kind of usually like set up my studio at least and like set up some lighting, but I am too enraged to do anything like that at the moment. Cause, okay, we're gonna start with a brief intro. I think, like, the past, obviously AI has existed for, what, like, ever now? It's existed since, like, the 1900s. I don't fucking know. I know, like, some guy, like, made, like, a painting. Like, or, like, he didn't make the painting. He told a computer to make a painting, and he said he sold it for, like, $1,000 or some shit. Which I guess was, like, whatever, because it wasn't, like, unethical or something back then. I don't remember. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I'm hashtag, new gen. No, I'm Gen Z. Anyway, sorry. And people are just now beginning to care about it. Now that it's become so easily accessible. And it's kind of a problem. And you'd imagine that would make a lot of, you'd imagine that would just be helpful. Like, if you didn't know, like, about the effects of AI, you'd be like, oh, like, it might be helpful. It's not, and I've explained in a lot of different videos why I am a man against AI, and why I think everyone should be, because it's not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of being a not morally gray person, but I, back down, I guess. I digress. I back down. I think AI is the kind of thing where people will see other people doing it and be like, I'm gonna do that. Because, unfortunately, I think that a lot of people in this world they don't care about ethics. And I think that is a huge character flaw, just by the way, as a person who, like, bases a lot of what I do around ethics. I think ethics are important, and I think that everyone should care about them, even if it's excessive, okay? I think it's better to have excessive worries about ethics than to not care at all. That's what I was trying to say, but which, you know, those two combined, AI existing and people who don't care about, like, morally gray people, obviously it's gonna make some problems when you kind of factor those in. AI is something that people will always be like, oh, well, it helps me, and oh, well, it helps me have ideas, it helps me with my grammar, it helps me with my ideas, whatever it be. People always find some, like, justification of using it, and so, like, oh, well, it's my opinion. I'm a strong believer of, you can have an opinion, but that doesn't mean it's right. You know, you can have a belief, but it doesn't mean it's right. You know, like, having a belief doesn't, just because you're allowed to have a belief and you're, like, entitled to that belief, doesn't mean that your belief in itself is, like, moral, or that it's, like, ethical, you know, like, because believing something, believe it or not, pun not intended, believing in something, believe it or not, is actively enabling people to do that thing, or to engage in that thing. You're actively encouraging people. So, for example, if it could be, this isn't even always, like, a bad thing. Like, someone could believe that people should have basic fucking human rights. People are gonna, if you share that belief, people are going to advocate for that more, because maybe they'll be inspired by it, you know, or like literally what I'm doing right now. I'm voicing my beliefs on youtube.com. That is a form of a belief, and sharing it isn't harming anyone, so it's valid. There are invalid beliefs, guys. People have a tendency to think that they can have a belief, so that means that it's correct, or just because they have a belief doesn't mean that it doesn't harm anyone. That's not true. I thought it was common sense that you are entitled to a belief, but that doesn't mean that it won't hurt anyone. You know, like, just because you can have a belief, like, you know, like, people who are, like, child abusers, we're like, oh, well, it's my opinion. Sorry, that was, like, a really violent example. But, like, oh, well, like, it's my opinion, you know, like, yes, but that doesn't mean your opinion doesn't harm anyone. Just because you're entitled to an opinion or a belief doesn't mean that it doesn't harm anyone. You know, like, you're entitled to have any opinion you want, but it doesn't mean it's not gonna hurt anyone. getting that out of the way, I think that leads a lot of people kind of the misconception that their belief, just because they can have it, means it's okay. That kind of misconception leads a lot of people to think that if they can have any belief they want, then they can do whatever they want, and whatever they want is okay to do because it's their choice, you know? Especially adults. You know, a lot of adults won't listen to kids because they think that we're stupid, and they think that we're less emotionally mature, which is just not true. I've seen like 10-year-olds who are more emotionally mature than like a 50-year-old, you know, like age has nothing to do with it. And I think a lot of the time people will like be like, oh, well, I'm an adult, I can make whatever choice I want. Yes, you can, but that doesn't mean that your choice is good. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about the choices you make, you know? I think the big thing with AI is that people get like glued to it, you know? Like, and I know like I'm low-key getting my tin hat on this fucking podcast, like getting my tin hat on and like being like, the world is coming to shit. Listen, bro. Like, it's genuinely becoming a problem, and I'm not the only one who thinks this. Like, I know so many other people, not even just like kids, like adults who know that it's a problem. And this is obvious that you are watching this. I'd imagine if you're watching this, you agree with me. I would hope so. But people who like you probably agree with me, because people are like, but I think by the minute more and more people are using it and contributing to the problem. I think the biggest issue that people have is that they think, oh, I'm just one person, it won't do anything. But the problem is that we all have that mindset. The problem is that everybody that uses AI has that mindset, is that, oh, I'm just one person, or it's my choice. Yeah, it is your choice, and you are just one person, but everybody has that mindset, and that's why we're having such like a crisis with our ecosystem. And like, why I think people who are contributing to the problem ignore the fact that they're making the problem in the first place, because it's too much for them to emotionally handle. And I'm saying this because I've experienced this firsthand. Not the AI, I've never willingly used AI, but I have like dealt with things where I've been like, oh, like I've been the problem, but I've not wanted to face it because I just am too like I like the feeling of it, or I enjoy doing this thing, and I don't even want to think about how wrong it could be, because then it'll make me stop doing it. I think it's stressful for people who use AI to even face the fact that what they're doing is wrong. All they do is just kind of brush it off and be like, oh, that's your opinion, when in reality it's just facts and things that even scientists believe in. A lot of people are just too, I know this sounds harsh, but immature to even face it, that they're making a problem, they're contributing to a problem, like an active problem. Like how it's like, for example, ChatGPT, one of the most used AI sources like on the internet right now, or even I'm pretty sure it's actually one of the top sites right now, which is just so dystopian, by the way. Anyways, it uses water to, like, gallons of water to put out a response to a prompt. And not to mention other AIs like sources use, like, they burn down trees for energy, they will use smoke, put smoke in the air for energy, they'll pretty much just burn things. And people, for some reason, don't see the issue in that. I think, once again, kind of tying back to the fact that people just don't care about their ethics. They just don't care about being morally gray. Like, you're just being morally gray. Like, and they don't see the weight of the issue, and they don't see the fact that what they're doing is literally contributing to a problem. You know, like, I think, and that's kind of why whenever I come across someone using AI, I'm not gonna just, like, leave them be, because the more that you kind of leave someone be with it, the more they're gonna think it's okay. You know, it's gonna become a normal thing in their lives, and that is not what needs to happen, respectfully. I think the best thing you can do when you come across someone willingly using AI is just kind of try to educate them, because a lot of the times they just won't know, or maybe they're just a morally gray person, I don't fucking know, but try to educate them. And if they're annoyed, it doesn't matter. Like, obviously don't get yourself hurt, but I think the most important thing when it comes to being against AI is to educate other people and because a lot of people like the reality is a lot of people just use it because everyone else does it and because they think, oh, it kind of helps me. Yeah, it might help you a little bit, but I promise you it's not worth the millions of trees that are being burnt down. I know this sounds, once again, I do want to say that people tend to brush off people who fight against AI with just saying that you're being dramatic, which in reality it's not. It's literally facts that are proven. It's literally a statistic that literally thousands of hundreds of gallons are used to make like under 100 prompts, you know, like for ChatGPT specifically. You know, like people don't understand the weight of the situation, and I'm not gonna sit here and force someone to believe what I believe, but I think it's important that they understand what they're doing is wrong and what they believe is harming other people and harming the planet. Because once again, like your belief, like just believing in something could literally be enabling people to do that thing. Even if you're not sharing your opinion, you're actively participating in those people that believe in that, and those people that, you know, like, oh, well, it's my belief. You can have that belief, but don't expect it to just make it correct, you know? Like, your belief is not automatically just okay to believe in just because it's your belief. And that's kind of why I encourage people to really, no matter what it is, even if you're like immediately against it, not for the sake of agreeing with them, but for the sake of educating yourself, always do as much research on the topic as you can. Because honestly, I think that education is the most important thing when it comes to like discussing ethics and morals. I think a lot of people are just genuinely uneducated and just don't know the harm that they're causing, or just don't care. And I think being morally gray is literally one of the worst like character flaws I can think of in a person. And I think that choosing to be morally gray, whether that be through just not thinking about ethics, or just not researching what you're doing, is literally one of the worst like character flaws you can have. Like, I think it's crazy. I once again, I think it really just ties back to people having the mindset of, oh, I'm just one person, you know, like people who like, I'm trying to think of like an incident. Okay, like the butterball incident with if I'm not gonna explain on here because I get really queasy talking about animal situations, but the butterball situation, people who are still buying from that company and actively supporting the company, those are morally gray people who probably just either didn't know or didn't care or didn't do their research to care. That makes you morally gray. Even if you didn't know, you didn't do your research. If you like, I guess like if you didn't like see anything on it, that doesn't really make you morally gray and you just kind of happen to buy it. But people who actively support companies like that are morally gray because they're actively like feeding them money and feeding them resource to continue doing what they're doing. And once again, it's not necessarily the problem of one person having the mindset. It's the problem that if you don't stop having that mindset, you're just enabling more people around you to have that mindset. And if you're not actively advocating against AI, then you're just as bad as people who are advocating for AI. That there is no in between for that. And that's just true. Like, you are actively part of the problem if you aren't advocating for it. Against it. What? But I just think a lot of it is just people thinking that just because it's their choice that makes it okay, you know? Or thinking that their choice is automatically the right one because they're an adult, you know? When in reality, that's obviously not true, but you can't convince these people otherwise, you know? They just think that majority wins. They think that since the majority of people use ChatGPT or AI or whatever, they think it's okay. I think the problem is that it's literally like a fucking like mass hysteria. Like, it is spreading like an infection. Like, people people continue to use it because once again they don't know or they just don't care, you know? And I really think that all we can do as artists, especially since they're actively stealing from us, like, every single like AI generated piece of media plagiarizes an art piece, because those, like, whether it be visual arts, like auditory arts, writing, it could be literature arts. So literally any form of art that's generated with AI is plagiarizing an art piece, because those AIs are trained off of real art, like human emotion, like human emotion art, like art made with human emotion. And these unconsenting artists just trained off unconsenting artists. And once again, even if it weren't trained off unconsenting artists and it was totally original, one, it wouldn't even fucking be good. Not that it is anyway, but it would be fucking nonsensical. But two, it still wouldn't be art, because art is something made with human emotion and human, like, love and, like, thought, and, like, human hands made it. Or I guess if you don't have hands, whatever, a human made it with their brain. And AI does not have hands. It does not have a brain. It is fucking lines of code. And I'm gonna keep saying that until, like, the day I die, because AI is literally lines of code. Like, as someone, and I'm not gonna sit here and, like, act like it's like I'm not gonna sit here and act like AI has no personality, because it has a scary amount of personality and it's fucking terrifying. But once again, that's not a real personality. That's lines of code that's being literally, once again, even if you're just talking with an AI normally, like, you're still plagiarizing writers, because they're trained off of real writers that put real effort into their work. So even if you're just saying hello to, like, ChatGPT, it is plagiarizing an art piece. And because AI can't come up with shit without training off of other things. So by just talking to it, you're plagiarizing and stealing from artists. And I think that's what's so fucking wrong with AI, is not only the fact that it, like, not even just the fact that it, like, basically burns down trees and has extremely unethical ways of collecting energy, but also it steals from artists, and it steals from people who, like, put time and effort into their art. And I think what really sucks about being a minor talking about this is that people just don't care. People just don't care because you're not 18, so what do you know? When in reality, people just don't take you seriously because they think you haven't done your research, when in reality, I'm really passionate about it because I've done my research, And I've seen it a lot with other people my age, is that we'll try to advocate against this stuff, and people just won't care because they think that we're just kids. And that this is just when most kids our age use AI, like, it's a real problem in the education system, like, for my first hour class, we had this substitute teacher for a while. Not substitute, he was like a student teacher. He did technically substitute our teacher for a while. So yeah, we had him for like a month, and he used AI on every single assignment. Every assignment was written by AI. He did this, and I know because he showed us that ChatGPT makes all of his assignments. All AI. All the questions were AI. All the notes were AI. The amount of times that I found shit that didn't fucking make sense. And not even just because I didn't understand the material. For the entire time he was in that class, I had a D or lower, because none of his assignments made sense. I could tell they were all AI. Like, around the beginning, I didn't really know, but I could tell they were all AI after a while. After he said he used ChatGPT, I could just tell, like, because it was just obvious at that point. I couldn't really unsee it. And it made me pretty much fail my class. AI made me fail my class. AI is detriment, and I know that, like, a ton of other people did too. Like, my friend Jet was at, like, a C. He'd been at an A the entire year. He went down to a C because of that substitute who was using AI. And every time we wouldn't understand something, he would, like, I would ask him a question, like a legitimate question. He would ask ChatGPT, okay, maybe just use your brain. The thing in your brain, you have a brain. The thing in your head, use it, dude. Like, people are like, oh, it gives me ideas. You know what else gives you ideas? Your fucking brain. Your brain that we've had since humans ever existed, dude. Like, the brain that your brain is gonna, like, rot because you aren't fucking using it. Like, I genuinely think that people think it's, like, just a tool, when in reality it is so detrimental to the environment, to people's jobs. My friend's mom literally lost her job to AI, like, a couple months ago, because they started replacing their, like, the people who talk on the phone, they started replacing those people with AI voices on their line. And I think it's just really shitty, because, like, people's like parents are artists' parents are actively supporting something that is so detrimental to their kids' life, you know, like, and when I say life, I mean people who like artists, because artists kind of like, at least from what I've seen, a lot of artists really base their art around their life around art, and I think that's great, you know. But if your parent is actively supporting something that goes against what you enjoy, and that literally is taking down the very concept of what you live for, I think it's totally okay to not want to be around them. And I think it's totally okay to not want to interact with them over that. I think that's valid. And I know that sounds dramatic to a lot of people who support AI, but then if you think that, then I think you should do some soul seeking, and you should really get help morally, because people, once again, people who are morally gray actually piss me the fuck off, because you'll see that the same people who are using AI are buying from companies like Temu or Shein, or are doing things like leaving their trash outside, or even smaller things like that, you know, like these using buying from fur farms, like buying like those like quote unquote like non-synthetic like coats that are like real like meerkat fur, but they like killed the meerkat in a terrible way, you know. Like these people, there's like such like a trend, and I don't really like the word trend, but like there's such a pattern with people who use AI and people who buy from terrible places, that it is just all tying back to being morally gray. And I really do think it's a serious problem, and I think that all we can do as artists is to just actively try to educate people and actively be against it, because if you're not against AI, then you're supporting AI, period. And if you're not advocating against AI, then you are if you're not advocating against AI actively, then you are supporting AI directly. So basically, with all that said, I don't use AI. No matter what it is, don't use it. It's bad, and all forms of it are unethical. Yeah. And if you have like a family member or like a friend who is engaging in AI, whatever it be, just really try to like explain to them like the weight of it, the weight of AI on like our ecosystems and artist jobs and stuff. Like really just try to like explain to them what's so bad about it. Most of the times they won't care, but I think it's great to do it anyway, because the more awareness there is of AI being bad, then the more people are gonna stop using it. And I really do think it kind of comes back to people genuinely being addicted to like ChatGPT and stuff. Like I have literally heard of people who like use ChatGPT every second of their waking lives. Like I've heard of people who get up and use ChatGPT. Like that is an addiction, dude. Like I think a lot of it, people are just fucking lonely. Once again, people are just fucking lonely, or they're uncreative as shit. Like I don't care if you're uncreative or anything. It can be the worst idea in the world, as long as you're not using AI. It's an idea. It came from your brain. Your neurons made that. That's fucking cool, man. Because your brain, like, it's crazy how the fucking brain works. And I think it's so cool that we can just come up with ideas, like, just like that, like concepts in this little organ. But people don't fucking care. We have an entire organ in our head dedicated to making ideas, and people will still turn to fucking lines of code that, I'm gonna type in, how do I write a fucking email? You learned that in 6th grade, bitch. Use your brain. Like, it's not that hard to just, like, I get that English and writing could be hard. I get it. I'm literally a writer. I get it. But I think it's a lot more worth it to spend time and effort on something that you really care about. Or even if you don't care about it, even if it's just a schoolwork, I think it's a lot better to put time and effort into it than making like a literal like lines of code, right? Like write it for you and have shit ton of faults in it, and it have no human emotion, be clearly AI, and someone will probably call you out on it. You know, like people have literally failed my English class because they used AI to write their shit. You know, like it is a valid reason to fail someone because they didn't write it. Oh, I still came up with the ideas. Yeah, but you did not write it. And at that point, it's not even your idea. It's the AI's now, because they've twisted it into whatever idea they think it is, you know, or it thinks it is, you know? Also, my mom just said that AI is her friend. And she was on a call with someone, how she, like, I think an interview or something, and the interviewer recommended her to, one, use AI in her email, which is crazy, by the way, because one day you're gonna lose your job to that shit, but that's kind of ironic. Anyways, two, she told her that she named her AI. She named her AI Chip. You mean chip because it's a fucking circuit board and it has chips in it? No. She just said that because she thought it sounded cute. It's a fucking AI. It is literally ones and zeros. Oh, like, oh, well, I want my name to be Chip. It's an AI. It does not know what a name is. It does not know. It may say that it knows those things, but it doesn't fucking know. You wanna know why? Because it doesn't have a brain. It's literally lines of code. Like, this is coming from someone who literally writes scripts, like, for, like, part of what I do in my free time. I write code. It's literally words. It is lines of code all to make a response that sounds human. And people are starting to think that their AIs are like humans. Like, oh, well, I know it's a robot. Not with the way you're treating it. You know, like, it's a serious issue that people just don't fucking use their brains anymore. Like, people are like, oh, I just use it for ideas. You're still not fucking using your brain. Like, it can be a tool if it wasn't fucking unethical and if it wasn't so faulty. So no, it could be a tool. It's not a tool. So don't fucking use it. Like, actively supporting companies like these that are just, like, encouraging you to not fucking use your brain and just falling straight under. You are literally a victim of capitalism. Like, you are literally a victim of the fucking, like, system. You are a cog in the system, and I don't want to hear it. Like, it is genuinely so pathetic, like, to just watch people just completely fall victim to, like, these companies that are just advertising, like, just not using your fucking brain. When did that become, like, a product? When did it become a product to not use your brain? Is that something that people want? Is that on demand right now? Because if it is, then I don't know what fucking dystopian world we're, like, living in that there's a demand for not using your brain because people are that fucking lazy. Anyways, moral of the story, I kind of went off trail a little bit, but if you take anything from this, like, shitload of a podcast, just don't use AI and educate anyone you can on the dangers of AI and the dangers of using it, and, like, and just, you know, like, as many people as you can, just educate, not, and whether that be through, like, making a slideshow and sharing it to, like, your school, or something smaller, like, just your friends using it and you tell them why and you move on, you know, why you shouldn't, and move on, you know, even if it's on a really small scale. Actively advocate for not using AI, because, or even if you're just voicing your opinion on it to a friend, you know, actively advocate against it, because if you're not, then you're supporting it. I love you guys, and thank you for listening to my rant. I can't do a heart. My rant. Yeah, don't use AI. Bye. Bye. Sorry.